Hello everybody, I'm Lee Davis, and if you're asking yourself what I'm wearing, I'll be happy to tell you. I'm wearing my Carcass windbreaker, my official Carcass I Reek of Putrefaction baseball cap, along with my Carcass Buried Dreams baseball cap over my Carcass sock hat. And I'm also wearing this Carcass Heartwork exclusive tour shirt from the North American Putrefaction tour over my Carcass Necroticism Dissenting the Insalubrious t-shirt. And even though I'm not going to show you, I can promise you I'm wearing my Carcass shorts. I'm lying, I'm not really wearing those, but I do own them. I wore them in Florida and they were seriously comfortable and seriously cool because they had my favorite band's logo on it. Very clever design too. So a lot of you might be saying, wow, you're a loser. And then some of you less cynical might be saying, it's getting a little hot in here. Sorry, I know. Let's take some of these layers off. But some of you others might be saying, rightfully so, wow, you must really like Carcass, and I do. And I'll tell you why. Carcass isn't just a death metal band to me. They are the death metal band. There's a lot of death metal bands I love. I just want to state for the record, let me just get this out of the way real quick. Carcass number one, always. Cannibal Corpse, solid second in line of great death metal. That would be followed, of course, by Autopsy, Obituary, many others, bands, Dead Infection, Pathologist, a lot of Carcass clone bands in there, you'll find them, General Surgery. And anyway, excuse me, I'm getting over this cough. Standing out in the rain for a while the other day. We'll get to that. So, and it's the speech I always kind of wanted to tell the boys in the band, if I ever got that opportunity. And I did, but it was to Dan, which is, it was a fantastic guy, Dan. I got to tell him this, and I just kind of hoped he could pass it on to the guys, because the truth is, as I told him, I said, you are part of Carcass, and so is James. I'd love to meet him as well, but it's, let's be real, I'm older than you. And when I was discovering Carcass, I think James, I don't know how old he is, but it's like I would guess that Dan would. I mess around, and I'm not being insulting, but he was probably still playing with like building blocks on the living room floor when I was discovering Carcass. So it's kind of ironic to see Dan and go, oh my gosh, Dan, Carcass. Like, oh my gosh, dude, I'm such a fan. You're like, you don't know, but I got to tell Dan. I met him briefly when they were opening for Hatebreed in Cincinnati, and it was a great experience, but it was really loud in there. And then I caught him the other day when they came to Columbus. Now, I'd just driven about 2 hours. The rain was awful, flooded roads. The drive was just absolutely miserable. My brothers were unable to make it, sadly enough, but I meet Dan. And, he's on a smoke break, and I just, let me back up. First thing that happens, I show up and I see Jeff getting off the bus, making his way around the bus, and then I see him get back on, and I'm just like, whew. And I'm just kind of having this, I was like, oh my gosh, because one thing I've just dreamed of is just, if I got a minute, I'd just like to tell him, hey, I can't tell you how much your artwork had, your craft, how much of a tremendous impact it had on my life. And I guess I'm always long-winded when I get into these things. I always give all the extra details, but I mean, that's just how it rolls. I saw him and I was just, so starstruck, and I start, as I put it, busting at the seams. I was just so lit up. I'm like, just like a kid again. Oh my gosh, that was the man himself. I'm like, I got to tell somebody. And my daughter's still in school because she knows what a fan I am. Like, Daddy, I'm going to go see my favorite band, so she knows all about Carcass, and she was real happy for me getting to go see this concert. I just tell them like, oh, I've told her about past experiences. So I can't think of anyone to call, and then I think of my neighbor Joanna, and I call her up. I said, look, I just got to tell somebody I'm over here in Columbus. This is like my favorite band, and they're right over there. Their bus is right over there. And I just saw Jeff the lead singer bassist, he's like right over there, and I might even get to see him. I might get to shake his hand and get a selfie. And I was just like so excited. And he's just geeking out. Yeah, I know I'm a middle-aged man. It's pathetic, but I mean, I didn't care. And I made this joke. I said, this other guy pulls up in this really nice red Porsche, and he's wearing like the long sleeve chest cavity Carcass shirt. He's blasting some Heartwork. I just heard him like rotating Heartwork and Swan Song, and I just said I'm gonna make a joke. I make a joke. I grabbed my longboard out of the back of my car. And I go up to him. I said, hey, I got a plan. I'm gonna ride my skateboard past that bus, and I'm gonna wipe out on purpose and hurt myself. And is expecting they're humanitarians. They really care about their fans. They're gonna see me injured. They'll come out, and then I'll say, so nice to meet you. Can I get a selfie? It's a joke. I didn't really do it. I thought about it. And and I don't know, we had a little chuckle. I guess he got the joke. But he said, the one thing is like you just wait after the show, then they don't have a choice but to meet you. I'm like, I'd rather it be like kind of this what's the word? Reciprocal, kind of like they're happy to meet some fans. I'm elated to meet them. It kind of just works out. If so, anyway, I get to Dan. I know this has gone on a while. Thanks for sticking around. I mean, I guess this testimonial, I had to get it out somewhere, shape or form. I go to Dan and I tell him, I said, we had a little more time this time. It was a little quieter because we're outside the venue. The show hasn't started yet. And I wished him well on his show. I said, man, I'm so happy to see you, just have a great show. And he was very appreciative and nice. He was just so kind and such just a really warm, awesome dude, And I said, if I got an opportunity, I'd love to give a handshake to Bill and Jeff. And that's not to exclude James, him too, but it's like, I want to talk to the original guys, the guys who made the work that first grabbed me. And I got to why I said, I'd just love to get a selfie. He's like, I'll talk to him and see if they want to do that, And so and he's still working on a cigarette. No one's bugging him. And I'm just like, he probably doesn't remember me. And so I say, hey, and by the way, this is why I didn't ask you for a selfie, because I didn't want him to feel like, I just want to meet them. You're kind of, nothing like that. I said, see, and I showed him the picture from my Instagram where I met him. He's like, oh, where was that? I said, yeah, it was in Cincinnati. I think you were opening for Hatebreed. He's like, oh, I think I remember. And yeah, we just started chatting, and I did not expect that from him, but that's what happened, and it was glorious and wonderful. And I just told him the story. I said, I had a real hard life, and that's not a lie, no different than a lot of other people. Everyone's got their own stories, but I mean, I'll just say at 14 years old, I was in such a dark place, and what had happened to me was just so, and I guess just to get to the point, as I told him, I just said, where do I even exist? How do I fit in? I'd had everything had been destroyed. Every time I got something going, it was, whether it was friends or my crafts or my dreams or just whatever, it had been leveled. I was reduced to, I was just bully bait in this jock town, and no one wanted to take time out. No one wanted to believe in anything. I'd had those people that had nurtured me and said, wow, you're a genius and all this and that. I'd had teachers, I'd had counselors. You are really good, and then, but someone else would always come along and shoot it down. No, you're not good. This is not good. You're not good. I'm not good. I'm like, well, why am I here? Why am I here? And this sounds crazy, but it's like I said, I turned on MTV, and I'll never forget. It's like there was Heartwork, the song Heartwork was playing. It was on Headbangers Ball with Ricky Rackman, which was a total joke because they played like a couple Pantera songs. They'd rotate a couple Pantera songs over and over. And then all this stuff that was just alt rock. It wasn't even metal. I remember they like Blind Melon was their big hit. They kept rotating. I'm like, it's not, I got nothing against this, but you say Headbangers Ball, oh man, it's so heavy, it's so crazy. And it's like, I just want to say what it happens to I'll always be there when you and then there's Heartwork, and I won't do my impression, but watch the video. And I just remember being 14, and it's like, if I could replay my expression, I can see myself as a 14-year-old. It's like, I just remember thinking, this is that death metal you hear whispers about. And as I've often said, I was familiar. I had bought Eaten Back to Life at age 13. It scared the crap out of me. It amazed me and thrilled me. And it was just too much, And later on, jumping ahead, later on, I bought The Bleeding after I got it. Carcass introduced me to Carcass, made me understand, and then I got it, and then The Bleeding came out, and it was on. It was just on. It was a Cannibal Corpse. Carcass has already got #1 position. Cannibal Corpse is just, I started to really get and feel, but I remember thinking I even remember thinking as a kid, I said, if they just kind of slowed it down, gave them a little more rhythm, something a little more palatable to a 13-year-old's taste, which, yeah, Cannibal Corpse. But I mean, and that's not to say Carcass was more kiddish, but it was more melodic. The drum beats had a little, it was a little more something you could kind of just, bounce your head to. It wasn't just like rapid, crazy seizure, bottom end brutality. And by bottom end, I mean like as low and heavy as you can get, a barrage. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, it was just, I often say it wasn't love at first sight, but I said, there is something really important going on here. Carcass, huh? Okay, and yeah, I went to the store, and they had symphonies and necroticism, and they had this. Heartwork. And speaking of which, sorry. I picked it up, brought it home, I spun it, and it's just from beginning to end, there wasn't 1 second that wasn't just pure genius. It was just in the same, I mean, I could go on and on, but I'll save that for another time. I mean, the same repeated itself with, necroticism, and so on. And, when I got back to the record store, someone who picked up symphonies, it took me years to actually get a hold of symphonies. I could kill myself. And, it's so hard to find, even on special order and everything. It just went, so tragically, I asked one record store to order it for me. I kept calling them up. I said, do you have it? And I didn't know to say, do you have the order for Lee Davis I put in? Because it was probably sitting right there collecting dust waiting for me, and they just checked the shelves. No, we don't have it. And I was just too young and stupid to say I made a special order for Lee Davis, so I probably symphonies and Reek and Peel Sessions were probably chilling right there. Found Peel Sessions somewhere. I actually, it might have been a mail order. Anyway, but I think the bottom line is, I could go on about the geekery. I'd love to dig into a lot of the albums. I've been really meaning to make a video about Torn Arteries and how that just completely rewired my brain as a person who loves metal and Carcass more than anything else. I have to evolve my brain to rethink and understand this beautiful, incredible album that just I frankly didn't really even understand. I just knew it was amazing. I just couldn't, on some subconscious level, I couldn't understand why or how. I just knew there was something going on, and it just had to evolve in my mind because it's unlike anything you've ever heard in death metal. Excuse me. So the great conversation with Dan, and all I really want is just, and he says, I'll see if they can, I'll see, I'll ask him if they can come out real quick, I said, great. And I say, knowing how it goes, it was taking a while, no one was coming out. I said, I got a feeling they're not in the mood to chit chat, and that's fine. I told Dan if it's really meant to be, he'll give my speech, or maybe I'll just put it in a video later. All I want right now, I just want to shake their hand. You changed my life. You actually saved my life, because that's how. To recap a little bit, I was in a dark place, and a Carcass, by doing Heartwork, was a bolt of lightning striking and just lighting things up, and it brought me to life. Naturally I geeked out. I went out wherever I could find. I found a mail order catalog where I found where I could special order these shirts. I have 14-year-old kid. Yeah, I had no money, but I'd scrape up enough. I'd throw some cash in an envelope and mailed off for whatever T-shirt I could get. I was highlighting them in the Rockabilia catalog. I'm like, oh, there they are. That's them. One thing I always, I just wanted to tell, Carcass, if they were short on time, I get it. You're on the road, you're tired, you're hungry, you want to rest, but you got a big show coming. Okay. just handshake or fist bump or elbow bump or bow, whatever, and you changed my life, and you're just the best to me. You are, to this fan, you are the best death metal band in existence. I will never find another band that has done as much for me, for my creativity, for my imagination, just for my my love for life. It's like, there's other things besides death metal in my life, obviously more important things, but for my geek life, it's really, it could be summed up as Dario Argento, Carcass, Cannibal Corpse, Eli Roth I'm a huge fan of for some reason or another, Jim Henson, Star Wars, couple of, Autopsy, Obituary, Lucio Fulci. I guess the list I don't want to get lost, but it can be summed up like that. I mean, those are the things that are just so important, have just motivated me so much. And that's it. That's it. Handshake, you changed my life. To me, you're the best death metal band ever, and thank you, and have a wonderful show. And do you mind if we get a selfie? Thanks, guys. Have a great show. I mean, that's kind of how it would have gone. Didn't happen, and that would have meant so much to me. And so there's this other guy waiting, and I just kind of noticed, and I don't want to rip on the guy, but we're on different frequencies. We ended up hanging out quite a while, but we were there for different reasons. And if dude's watching, it's no disrespect. I didn't even want to give that idea, but it's like, I'm there for what I just described. He was there with a bag full of stuff. And I'm sorry, all due respect, I can kind of see where a band, he got Dan to sign, and Dan signed. And I even heard him say, I got him to sign the wrong part. And the way it progressed was just, it was kind of a bummer. He was a nice guy, but he was there to get autographs. So it was me and him. It's raining. The weather's nasty. We're standing under this eave of this Mexican restaurant. We're offering directions to all the fans that show up because they think we're waiting in line. I'm like, nah, the door's over there. And I don't want to even tell them, we just want to meet Carcass. And he wants some autographs. I just want a handshake and a selfie, and to tell them they saved my life, blah, blah, blah. I didn't even tell that. I said, door's right over there. We're just hanging out, And never said cars on it. I said, and you're not allowed to go this way because that's where the band goes. That's why it's barred off. Said, don't go that way. Hey, there's a big puddle there. Don't step in that. This is how it went. I'm talking to the guy, and here's the big difference. Is and I even told him as much. I said, Carcass is the one band I want to meet. It's I've met a couple. I'll get into how I met Alex Webster and just how that was. We'll get into that, but it's I just want to meet Carcass. I've met a lot of bands, and it means a lot to me, but it's they are that band that just, if I can just make eye contact with them, you changed my life. You are the superheroes who changed my life. Thank you. God bless you. Have a wonderful night. Rock on. Hey, watch for me. I'm gonna be out there as loud as I can possibly be for you guys. Just something, that's what I'm here for. I just want to show some love to these guys who changed my life. And, he's I met the guys from UFO. I met this guy, and these guys were kind of jerks about meeting them. And he's yeah, so it's they gotta give you an autograph. He's finding out, I get it. You want to get autographs on your merchandise for your collection. You're a collector. You're one of those guys who wants a lot of autographs. Cool. It's not me. I told you, I've explained why I was there. He was there for all this stuff. I'm just I'm sorry. If they come out, I gotta holler over you if they get to your autographs. But it's I'm just gonna be bing bang boom and out of their way. And so, excuse me, it's raining. This video is going on a while, but I think it's worth it. I want to share everything. I just want to be candid and honest and open. I might edit this later. I might just upload it raw. I had some gags I wanted to put in here, even some footage from the amazing show because they did great, like they always do. Yeah. Yes, I'm just gonna take my sweet time. I want to cover all the details. So we're standing out there in the rain. I'm just let me just do this. And I start to think, I'm dude, I'm starting to read the writing on the wall. And I'm just telling him, I'm man, I'm tempted to go in. I'm just, they're not coming out. I don't think they're interested. And if that had been it, then that's it. And he's like, oh, they'll come out. They got to come out. I'm like, dude, I don't want to corner them like animals. I just like I want them to voluntarily, if they come out to go into the club for this or that, you know, I just want to say, hey, Jeff, hey, Bill, you know, like, hey, just real quick, a selfie real quick. Hey, you're my favorite band ever. Just thank you so much. You know, it's just something quick, you know. I didn't want to be a bother. Like, I get it. I don't want to be that fan. I even told Dan, I don't want to be that fan. I'm not going to come pounding on the door. I'm going to be right over here. You know, I'm standing in the rain, and I'm like, man, it's been a while. And then I hear, well, Hedonist is going on. Shoot, man, I kind of want to watch them. But I said, you know, it's like, I'd love to see these other bands, these younger bands. You know, I love to discover new stuff. Like I said, there will never be another Carcass. But it's like, you know, this is the new generation of death metal, and I like to be there to witness it. It's a different dynamic. I'm not the kid anymore who's opening his eyes to what is possible, what is out there. You know, it's like, I've already seen it, you know, I'm just kind of weathered, you know, and now it's like when I meet these new bands, it's a little, the seniority thing, the dynamic is totally different, because it's more like, hey, you did a really great job, man. Those riffs moving through me, man. That was good. Don't tell these other guys, but you're my favorite of the lineup tonight. You were good. Yeah. Hey, how about a selfie with an old guy? And like, you know, but with Carcass, obviously, and oh my gosh, it's Carcass. I'm that guy again. I am that kid again. I'll always be that guy that just was praying for some kind of, someone to show me, you know, that this world it has a place for a guy like me. And Carcass's work did that, you know. You know, I'm thinking all these things as I'm standing out there in the rain. And I keep on saying, man, shoot, man, Necrot's going on. I'd really like to see Necrot. It's been a while. He said, yeah, this is starting to suck, but they got to come out. I'm like, you know what? That's right. And this was my logic. I said, well, they do have to come out. They got to go into the club. And how much is it really for a quick selfie with the one guy who stood in the rain and missed two bands that he really wanted to see? Because in the long run, I said, Lee, ask yourself, how are you going to feel later? I said, do you want to stand out in the rain and miss two bands so you can get this selfie and this handshake with your heroes, or do you want to go see Necrot and Hedonist? I said, I really want to see Necrot and Hedonist, but as this is what I've waited since I was like 14 for. I said that, and this will take me back to one other thing I meant to mention earlier in this long-winded reflection. Well, first, it really was. It would have meant. I mean, it was that important to me. It was that important to me. I said, you know, I'd waited all that time. So at this point, you know, I'll wait until I'll miss every single band up until Carcass goes on. If I can just get that handshake and tell them how much it's meant to me, and excuse me. And, you know, one thing I kind of always thought, you know, you kind of think about what you'd like to tell your heroes if you ever get to meet them. And I will say the way I composed myself with Alex, I got to tell him everything. I kept it concise, which is like a blessing for a guy like me, because I ramble, if you didn't figure that out already. You know, I wanted to tell myself, like, when I was a little kid, I watched, and I would not compare my favorite death metal guys to Muppets or Skeksis or Gelflings, but it's like when I was a little kid, like, the Muppets cracked me up. They slayed me. And then later I saw the Dark Crystal, and I was like, it was the same as watching Heartwork. When I was a little kid, I was like, dude. You know, and then I watched Labyrinth, and it was kind of like just an extension of, whoa, what? And I started making puppets. You know, I wanted to make a movie that got shot down. It's another tragic story, but you know, I wanted to make my own Star Wars movie and stuff like this. I just had these big dreams. And so, like, when all that stuff had been devastated, just blown out of the water, and I'm all alone, I'm in this cold, unforgiving, just horrible, nasty world. And I was becoming a nasty person. I was mean. You know, I hated people. And man, I hate that. But it's like, you know, I remember, like, I saw I tuned into the second half of the Heartwork video, and then this nice kid, who I was always mean to, it's just, I hate that, but he was I think he saw that I was, like, a really lame, pathetic, like, beat down dude, and I was just mean to everybody, because I didn't know anybody. I started seeing everybody who dared to be nice to me as somebody who was out to get me. Someone who had a plan, you know, someone who wanted to hurt me. I was so mixed up, you wouldn't believe it. But Yeah, this nice kid who was always mean to had a copy of, I think it was Metal Maniacs. I wanted to say Kerrang, it was actually Metal Maniacs. And he said Carcass is in this. I'm like, and I opened to the article, and there they are standing there, and it's got, I'd seen them in the video, but the Heartwork album, if you recall, the original pressing, I don't know about the new ones, but it's like, I believe they do, but there was no picture of the guys. I'm like, why would you, like, I would always, and I always put the old mugshot on any release I make, because I want, it's like, this is who I am, this is the artist who did it in the credits, I just want to capture where I was at that time. But I didn't know what they looked like, and I'll just never forget, like, looking at the picture, I was like, that's them. Those are the guys who made this stuff. I'm like, wow, man, those guys, those are cool guys, and I'd see, what I liked is I liked that they had a sense of style, I liked that they were kind of like gentlemen. I thought that was so cool. But I just wanted to tell them that. I said, when I first saw you guys, it was just like, wow, and I just wanted to, I was dreamed of the day I could tell them, and now to meet you in person is just, once again, wow, and that's how I felt. I mean, when I saw Jeff getting off the bus, I was like, oh gosh, like Wayne and Garth meeting Alice Cooper, like, we're not worthy. I was kind of like feeling that way. Yeah. So it's late. The dude says, hey, let's stand over here. And I'm not trying to peer into the bus, but like some light comes on or something, because they have tinted windows, and I'm just like, I couldn't help but notice, because there's that very recognizable, he always wears like one shirt. You can't help but notice if you're a fan, he wears like one shirt for an entire tour. I don't know if he has multiples of the same, or he has them washed, or just gets them real dirty and doesn't care. But he's wearing that one kind of nice white dress shirt, and I'm like, I can't help but notice. I'm like, there's Jeff. And they're a kid, because I've been getting so down. I said, I'm starting to think this is a big fiasco, this is a big waste of time. And all of a sudden they're like, there's movement. I'm like, and it's getting that time. I said, I think this is it. I think I'm about to meet Carcass. I think I bet he's moving. He's moving, and I can't help it. I was like, oh my gosh, dude, it was worth the wait. It was worth the wait. Thank you. And security comes walking out, and he's like, hey, we can't have people loitering here. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I told a security guy earlier. They even said, hey, buy a ticket and go inside if you want. He said, but if you want to meet the band, just I can't have people hopping over there. I was like, oh no, dude, I'm not that kind of fan. I just want to get a selfie and a handshake real quick if possible. And I had this nice chat with these two security guys. And he's like, yeah, just, and I was even saying, I'm helping guide people this way, when they're coming in. I'm just so long-winded, but I guess it just is what it is. And he said, buy a ticket, come on in. I said, oh, I got a ticket. Yeah, even though I'm missing Hedonist and Necrot for this, I'm going to be in there to watch my favorite band. And I just want to meet him real quick. He's like, all right, he said, well, yeah, come on in. They were real nice. And then a different security guy, we can't have people loitering. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to loiter. And I'm getting it. I'm like, okay. They had turned, okay, first they turned the light off on the bus so we couldn't see in, and then about like half a minute later, out comes security. And then he's got like 3 other guys. I'm like, okay, I didn't mean to loiter. I just wanted to, I told the other guy, I said, those are my heroes in there. That's my favorite band. That's why I gotta get that selfie, and they're cool. And then so like someone said something. I'm like, I get it. I'm like, wow, okay, Carcass or the crew or whatever, called security, turned off the lights and called security, and they came out and told me they can't have me loitering. They have to get me out of there. And I was like, okay, I understand. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I got a ticket. I'm going to head on inside. And he's like, they're not even, I just wanted to meet them real quick. And he said, they're not even in there. They're in the green room. I'm like, I see them right there, but I mean, I get it. Yeah, I get it. You don't want me here. And it occurred to me, it just dawned on me in that moment. I said, I'm not going to meet him. I stood out here and I missed Hedonist and Necrot for no reason. And out in the rain, I'm wet, I'm miserable, and now I'm sad. And it came right after I was getting like all lit up because I saw Jeff about to come off the bus. And it was like, and all I got was the lights go off, click. Here comes security, like 4 security guys. Just you gotta go. I'm like, okay. I was like being scolded, I was like being told you're not allowed. And I was real respectful. And here's the thing. And once again, with all due respect to this other guy who just wanted autographs for another metal band, like I said, all due respect to you, that was his game. Mine, if you haven't figured out already, was much different. And he said, I think they're foolish, I think they're still on. I'm like, and I didn't say this. I said, oh yeah, you're probably right. Hey, I'll see you in there. This guy, by the way, he said he was going to buy a ticket after he'd gotten his autographs and going. He never bought a ticket. He never came in. I already had mine. I guess he decided not to after that fiasco and just went home, had some bourbon or something. So I'm like, and I'll say it is a lot my fault because a big voice was saying, Lee, this is a waste of time. And I kept on saying, I'm about to go in. He said, oh, they got to come out. And I was like, and I'm not going to blame him. It was, it's my fault. It is. He said, but he kept on saying, they're going to come out. I'm like, you're right. And then I kept on saying, I've waited all this time. I already missed Hedonist. Necrot's like probably halfway through their set. Just wait it out. Let's just do it. And go home and say you waited out, but at least you got that selfie and handshake. This has gone on a half hour. Yeah, I think, and I can't believe I've talked for a half hour about this. Maybe I'll make another video, follow up, and just get more to the point. Yeah, but okay, as he's saying, I think they're full. I think they're still on there. I'm like, oh yeah, they probably are. Well, I'll see you in there, is all I said. But in my mind, all due respect, but I was just thinking, dude, get a clue. They don't want to meet us. They turned off the lights and they called security to get us out of here so they could come off the bus and not have to meet us. That's how much they didn't want to meet us. That's how much they didn't want to meet us. That they called security. They had that whole road crew in there. Not one of them, because they knew we were standing out in the rain like idiots. They're probably laughing at us. It's like, it's like no, not one of them could come off as rude as they were capable of being, even when I was trying to be the nice, oh, you guys are doing a great job. You're awesome. Hey, you're part of the fun. Good job. No one had the decency to come off and just say, they really don't want to meet any fans. Because, I would have taken it. That would have been better. That would have been better. just tell me they don't want to meet you. They don't want to meet you. They're just not in the mood. Anything like a little white lie or something. They got diarrhea. They're so tired. They're hungover. They're just in a bad way. They need to reserve their strength. They're afraid of germs. Anything. Just say they're not going to meet anybody tonight. They're not looking to take selfies. You might as well go in. If someone had the decency, but instead you turn off the lights and you send out security to get rid of me. And I'm like, I'm kind of thinking, is part, I'm a fan, and you go to these bands. They kind of need their fans to do these tours, and I'm really losing myself. I feel so sleepy all of a sudden. I'm just gonna finish this because I've gotten this far. If my mind isn't even functioning properly. Yeah, I'm a fan, and it's just, it shouldn't be expected that they're gonna be gathered around the bus wanting just a little piece of the band, a signature or a selfie or something like that. But you sent out 4 security guys for 2 people. Wow. And it's just like, it's just such a, when I juxtapose that with the kid I once was, that just, one day maybe I can meet these guys and just tell them what their music means to me. And I was out there and wanted a selfie and a handshake, and you sent 4 you sent the, like how much of the security team was that even? How much rerouted? You said, we got a problem out here. Fans aren't letting Carcass get into the venue. They're blocking them. I was standing across the street respectfully. I was just saying, oh, I got my camera ready. I'm gonna meet Jeff Walker. And yeah, I just can't. It's like the more I repeated it to myself, I told my brother about it, and he said, what? I told my neighbor about it, the one I called. Yeah, and I told my daughter about it. I said, it's like Oh yeah, I was looking for my phone. I'm using it to record. I was gonna look for the text messages. My daughter said, "How's the show?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it sucks." I said, "I met the drummer. He's a great guy. The rest of the band didn't want to meet me." I left out the part about, yeah, Daddy got ran off by security for standing there in the rain. No one could just come out and say. No one could just come out and say, yeah. I can't believe this is going on 35 minutes. It's just this video is a bigger joke than what happened almost. Yeah. I think that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. It's just crazy, this fan's journey, you know. And I just wonder. I say, you got that whole road crew, and like, aren't they used to dealing with fans? I mean, do you have a lot of fans? Because I only saw me and one other guy, you know. And even if you Carcass had come out and said, sorry, no selfies, gotta run, you can go. That bar is right here. You just do this, like 8 steps quickly. All your gear's inside. Just sorry, gotta run. You know, like, I get it. Even if you had done that, I would have gotten it. But you sent out security to run me off. Is, you know, kind of humiliating. I don't have much of an ego to be damaged at this point. You know, I've dropped that. It's just, I'm a very humble guy. And the way those guys were looking at me like I was causing a big problem. Like, how is that? I don't understand that mentality. I don't see where a person could look at one of their fans. It was standing with another fan who's got a bag of vinyls to autograph, you know, and you know, after, you know, the drummer says, I'll see if they'll come out, and they don't. And then my mentality is, well, at least if they don't want to come out now, I'll just holler at them on their way into the building, just real quick. Hey, you guys rule, you know. And I'm almost speechless, you know. And I mean, it's yeah. I think I've pretty much covered the whole thing. If you want to know how the rest of the night went, I went in. I love their show. They put on a great set. I got 2 guitar picks. I might have you know, I tapped the shoulder of the lady in front of me. At the last show, a pick landed right near my foot. And I was a little too slow to the drive. And you know, these youngsters, you know, it's like, hey, God bless them. I'm glad y'all are coming out. It's great. But this girl guy was like, I got the pick. You know, I was just being cynical later. I said, she probably don't even know who Carcass is. She just got the pick from a band. That's all it is to a lot of these people. That's all. You got guys like me, and I saw that one other guy in the Porsche. The guy with the vinyls, I'm sure he's a fan. He owned the stuff. He knew the name, but he didn't even know. He didn't even know. He didn't know Jeff cut his hair. I'm like, I did, because I follow their social media. I watch them live on YouTube. Like, you know, I love this band that much, you know. And if that makes me a loser, cool. I'm a loser. Yeah, man. I'm pretty sure I was the loudest one there. I knew more of the lyrics to more of the songs than anybody there. You know, I danced, I shook my fist, I clapped along, you know, and it's just, you know, I loved the show. Love seeing them live. I'm just blown away. And this has gone on almost 40 minutes now. This is just utterly ridiculous. So I think at this point, no one will ever even see this video, but because I've gone on this long, I just want to leave this testimonial. Maybe I'll put it out there. Maybe I'll make a quicker and more concise one. Or maybe I'll just leave it. This is the unfiltered. I had this idea how to cut it up and show photos and stuff. Maybe I'll just put it like this. I did want to talk about, you know, my original idea for this was I was going to be more to the point. And I think there's just so many thoughts that go into this as such a longtime fan. I mean, we're talking about a 32-year journey to hopefully one day meet these guys. You know, from that kid I once was who got pulled out of a very dark place by their music. And it's not to say that the road was an easy one after that. It only get worse and well into my 30s. The world beat me dead. The things, the people that I, you know, let my guard up to. I mean, the kind of things that were done to me, the kind of pain that was laid on me, the kind of ridicule, the sacrifices I made to be repaid by more ridicule and asking for more blood. Is just the cruelty of this world drove me nearly to death. And, you know, I thank God for saving my life. God saved my life. And that's why, sorry, I'm not going to sing along with the embodiment track, but But people that I think people are doing things with the gifts God gave them when they use their creativity in a positive and uplifting way, and even a band like Carcass is doing that. And that's maybe the paradox, and I didn't mean to get into all this, but that might be the paradox when people say, oh, you're into death metal, but you're a Christian, you know, and I'm not going to get religious exactly, but I say I do have faith. I do believe, you know, I needed to find God, or I might have died. I mean, I probably would have. But that's why I thank God for metal, you know, because these gifts were imparted unto people who I think mistakenly then turn around and burn the creator who gave them these gifts. But like, you know, regardless of what you think of that, if you're shaking your head or rolling your eyes, good, I don't care, you know. I thank God for Carcass's music. I'm so thankful that I just stumbled upon it because I've been praying for somebody to tell me that this was worth it. And I was cut off from all the people who told me I was great, I was going to be famous, I was going to be rich, you're so talented. I was cut off from all the teachers, all the counselors, all the friends. I was pulled unceremoniously, is that the right word? Yanked away from them, dunked into football jock hellhole where people like me were just meat, you know. I was just bully bait. And when I say, look at this drawing I made, do you think I'm worth something? I'm like, no, you're not worth anything. You're not good unless you're like these guys. I said, somebody please tell me that, I feel a little emotional. That's stupid of me. Somebody please tell me that there's a reason for this. And you know, ironic as it may seem, death metal did that. And Carcass in particular, that song was the biggest ray of light to come into my life, you know, with the exception, I mean, obviously there's more important things. Becoming a father, obviously bigger. My connection to my creator, nothing bigger than that. Watching Return of the Jedi. And here comes security. You can't be loitering. We can't have people loitering out here. Carcass turned off the lights on their bus and had them come out and tell me I couldn't be there. I needed to get out of there. And, they acted like I didn't even have a ticket, like I was just some homeless guy. I'm like, dude, yeah, it wasn't this shirt, but you'll see it in the picture with Dan. It's been 42 minutes. I can't, yeah. I don't even feel inside. It's not even something I wouldn't really expect. It's just the added insult that you couldn't just tell me. Whether it came from the mouths of the musicians themselves or the road crew or somebody, whenever they came out, they avoided eye contact. I was like that kid who was like, "Hey, am I invited to the party? Hey, are we still doing this?" They like, I was just like, if they look over here, I'm gonna say like, "Hey, if they're up for it, I'll just make it real quick, just a quick selfie and a handshake. Yeah, that's all." But it's like they like avoided eye contact with me. I'm like, dude, I'm not. What do you think this is? What do you think I'm gonna do? Do you think I'm gonna be disappointed? Yeah, of course I'm gonna be disappointed. Do you think I'm gonna like hate the band and rip up my shirt and like oh, it was all for nothing? No, it's I'll be disappointed. I'll go in. I was disappointed. But like nothing. But that's much better than like turning off the lights and sending security out to tell me they're in the building, which I know they're not. To lie to me. What even is that? Was it crowd control? You sent out 4 security guards, I think it was, for 2 people. One who just like spilled his guts to the drummer and told him all, like basically all this stuff. I was in a dark place and Carcass saved my life. I can't get over it. I can't get over it. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's really crazy. But it's like, I think you might even think to yourself like, well, where would these bands be without the fans? And one might reasonably argue, well, maybe, what? One thing that occurred to me is Jeff Walker gave more time to the guy who called him a poser and said Carcass was just doing it for the money. He gave, I don't know, what did he give him, like 20-minute interview? And I wanted like a 5-second handshake and selfie. you know, you give more time to that than the guy who's been spending like over more than 3 decades saying they're not sellouts, they're for real. This is a good, I love this album. I don't even care. And it's just, I find that so ironic, you know? And I mean, yeah, I didn't schedule anything, but it's like you're at a venue where you expect your fans are coming from far and wide to see you. And do you think they're going to want a handshake and a selfie? Yeah, is that even a question? Of course they are. I mean, I saw you like come out and sign a CD like with the guy, and then you were giving fist bumps, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't want to push past people. I was like, I'll take a fist bump, I'll take that. I mean, I still was like, had no hard feelings. You know, it's like he didn't diss me in particular. He gave out like 2 or 3 fist bumps, and I'm going. And even if they're during the set, I notice how y'all are like rolling your eyes and sarcastic. I was like, is someone giving you a hard time? Like, I hope it's not me, because all I've ever shown you is love. You know, that's crazy. So I mean, if that's stupid, like you really these fans. Yeah, I really. Yeah, I don't get it. He's like with the guy who's like, you know, calling some of your albums crap. I mean, he's very, let's just say, not very, not very kind about a lot of your body of work. Or I would be, you know. I'll even say Swan Song is I can't believe how long this video. Like you even said, like it was weird watching it happen, because he said, "Oh yeah, man, I understand. Respect. Like, can I have some respect? It's a little respect. A little respect." Security? Oh, okay. Am I that much of a creep? at least I ain't calling y'all posers. But yeah, I am a true fan. And you know, someone said after Ozzy passed, they said people wonder why we're getting so upset about that. Well, a lot of these musicians, these artists, they help guide us through really dark times, and I said that is absolutely true. And Carcass is my Ozzy. For sure. They were always there, no matter how hard. And things got bad, things got hard, things got really bad. To the point where I didn't think I said, I'm not meant for this. I'm not supposed to be here. I gotta tap out. But there was something that always kind of strung me along, and I'm glad I stuck around. And if for many reasons, not just get a handshake from Carcass. Yeah, they were. They were a guiding light in their own crazy, creepy, reeky of putrefaction-y kind of way. And I lost myself again. Yeah, gave all that. You give so much time to people that rip on you. And you can't give 5 seconds to a guy who drove through flooded roads by himself and stood out in the rain for 2 hours in mist and neck rot and heatedness. And you couldn't even have your road crew come and tell me you don't want to meet. But just if you would have had just had the integrity to tell me you don't want to meet me. If you come out and said, we're not doing selfies today, sorry, might as well go inside. Get out of this rain. We'll see you at the show. You know, something like that. Yeah, I could have, I would have been disappointed, but nowhere near as much as you calling security to run me off, you know? Like I'm some thug, like, yeah, man, you owe me some money. You know, you owe me, I've been a fan a long time. I think I deserve some free merchandise. Can you autograph this? Thanks. Can you autograph this? Thanks. Can you autograph this and this and this and this and this? I'm about done. So, this has gone on damn near an hour. This is just utterly ridiculous. I might put it up there because I think at least I was very sincere, and this experience is just is, it's just ironic, and I've just been laughing at it. And, maybe, and also a lot of people would be, what I find real sad is I think a lot of people would be, laughing at me because they're like, haha, you liked this band for all this time and look what you got. I did get a nice conversation with Dan. Dan, I wish you had just told me. I wish you had just said they're not coming out. They're not planning on it. Hey, they're fixing to call. What do you British say? Like, they're planning on calling security, mate. You might want to just go inside the club and we'll see you there. I would have dealt, been like, cool, You don't need security to tell me that, man. I'm a reasonable human being. I'm a grown man. I can take it. You know, I can take it. You know, it's at this point where it's just gone on this long. You know, I know I'm kicking a dead horse or a dead carcass, and I don't care. These are the thoughts. This is the stuff. It's been rattling in my brain a little bit, and I shouldn't even think about it. You know, and I didn't get real upset. I wasn't real hurt. I was even in the club. I even saw some of those security guys like keeping an eye on me. I'm like, what kind of crazy? It's like, yeah, no, all I am right now is a knucklehead, man. All I am is a stupid fan that stood in the rain and missed two good bands for no reason. You know, like good, like I don't know how I could be turned into a villain that quickly. Like I was real nice and humble, and I guess they finally figured out, oh, he's not. You know, he's just a stupid fan. He's just a stupid fan who thought he'd get a selfie. Did that ever dawn on him? What was said on there? We got a crazy crowd out here. We got a crazy crowd out here, and they're looking kind of ravenous. You better run them off. Run them off. They're crazy. I don't even know why they're here. I mean, he is wearing a Carcass shirt, but I'm sure it's just coincidence. I don't think he's a fan. He's probably some drug crazed maniac. He's probably got a machete, like the band that comes on before us. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. I'm wearing a nice shirt. I don't deserve this. Get those guys out of here. Get that crazy crowd of two people out of here. Get them out of here. The guy with the Armored Saint hoodie and the guy with the Carcass shirt. The Armored Saint hoodie and the bag of vinyls and audio cassettes. Get them out of here. We're Carcass. Don't you know us? We're so awesome. We don't need this crap. We come all the way here, to be harassed by a crowd of two fans, one that wants autographs and another that wants a handshake and a selfie. What do you think this is exactly? What kind of country do you have here? What kind of club are you running where two fans will come up and just stand outside the bus and wait to maybe get a piece of us? Don't you know who we are? So, yeah, I said we was probably wrapping things up about 30 minutes ago, but I mean, I guess I apparently had a lot of thoughts, and and one of my thoughts right now is, am I actually going to post all this crap? Or am I going to make another video? But assuming I do, I'll wrap it up with some other things, some final thoughts. On my way home, I thought about spinning some Carcass, you know, just cause Carcass. And, you know, every once in a while, I love listening to Putrefaction. I'd love to talk at length about the albums. I've been planning on making more reviews. I've talked at length about it in the past. But, you know, I said I'm going to spin... I listened to some Putrefaction sets in, which is members of Regurgitate and Lymphatic Phlegm and like one other. And then I listened to a very exciting band called, oh my gosh, Sick Sinus Syndrome, which is members of Pathologist, Herrick from Pathologist, who I've written with. He was a very gracious dude. And Belos, however you pronounce it, from Malignant Tumor. Both Carcass worship bands from back in the day who went on, did different things in metal, and then they formed this group. Pure gore grind, plenty of Carcass worship. Pathologist cover, Regurgitate cover, brilliant. I was listening to them. I said, you know what? Carcass might have been the ones who did it, but I don't know where they are. I don't know what that is. That is what that is. Okay. It's too bad, but that is what it is. And Dan's awesome. And James might be, I don't know. I didn't get to meet the guy. He could have come out. I would have loved to have met him. I mean, it's like I said, it's a different dynamic. You know, he was not one of the original members. There's a little difference there. It's not to say he's not as good or not worthy. He's great. He's awesome. I would have loved to have met him too. But he didn't come out either. And I don't know if he thought he was, I mean, I don't know what he was thinking, but I would have loved to. You know, I would have loved to have met the guy. But it's like I'm driving home. I'm listening to Sick Sinus Syndrome. Meat Spreader, by the way. Some really good gore grind bands out there in death metal and awesome stuff. And I was just thinking, I said, you know what? I've had good interactions with these guys, and they're great dudes. And they're all the way in Europe, so I'm probably not going to get to, you know, shoot the breeze with them or anything. But there's a lot of good stuff out there. People who will appreciate your appreciation. And I did want to wrap up. If I make another video, like I said, I was going to make more of a gag video where I cover this. I may yet still do that. But not long ago, you know, Carcass was like that genie that kept granting my wishes up until this last time. But I mean, I saw him live one time. I was up in a balcony. I didn't really care for that, but I was watching Carcass, and then I saw them open for Hatebreed. That was amazing, getting to be down in the crowd this time. And then after that, I said that all right. That I kept on saying that's my final hurrah, and then they do something. They'd one up it every single time. They'd one up it. It said like the only way they could do better than that is if they toured with like I don't know Cannibal. If they toured with Cannibal Corpse, I'm there. And they did that. It's like that was just their next announcement. Like you're reading my mind, man. You're reading my mind. Yeah. Back before this little development, you know, I said, and so I went all the way to Pittsburgh, and my brother Drew came with me. Awesome, and I met Alex Webster from Cannibal Corpse, of course. And it's worth its whole video, which I've been planning to do. But you know, when I think about this whole experience, despite that was one thing I thought of, is I met Alex Webster and. Would you pardon me real quick? Aha. Are you surprised? I met Alex Webster, and he was the greatest guy you've ever met. I mean, these guys have been all over the world. They've got gazillions of fans, and he just happened to be, excuse me, walking on his lonesome. And I know I'm not I used to be a real jackassy fan. I used to be very socially awkward. I told you my upbringing wasn't very, I mean, like was kind of troubled, and I was very socially awkward. And but I did learn meeting your favorite band etiquette. You know, if there's a big crowd, don't expect anything. You know, maybe thumbs up, you rule, something like that. But like he was walking by his lonesome. My brother's having a beer in the bar, and there goes Alex Webster. Like I went out and met him, and like I say, I'll save the details for another video. But I kept myself to the point. I kept it concise, and this dude was so nice. Every time I said, "Look, I don't want to hold you up, man. I know you got it." He's like, "No, it's fine." You know, one of my biggest regrets of meeting Alex Webster was like I think I could have like sat there and just shot the breeze. Freudian slip, shat. You know, chatted, shot the breeze, becomes shat, ironically. Another couple minutes, and I think he would have been cool with it. Was the vibe I got from the guy. But I said, I said, let me say my piece. I gave him my speech. You know, working with. Working with, and I'll repeat this. I want to make a more concise video. I think I really do, because it's worth pointing a lot of this stuff out. You know, meeting when Toadies invited us backstage, asked he was cool to have my brothers come with me. Vaden, great guy, and I even told what's his name, Dan. No, I told Alex. I said, man, you know, I'm a big death metal guy, but I got to do, one of the more notable things I've gotten to do was I did the graphic novel / comic series for Vaden Lewis of the Toadies. Worked with Kirtland Records on that. He's like, whoa, the Toadies. He seemed genuinely like, wow, you know, because anyone who was around in the 90s, and, you know, and I mean, no, what am I saying? You know, they came out in the 90s. They were all over MTV. Their songs still are. They're still big, and they're still awesome. And Vaden took us backstage and got a handshake, a brief chat. You know, it's to the point they were going on. They did a great show. And working with Kirtland Records has been awesome. And I think I'm about done finally. This has gone on so long. I really did not get to the point, and I can't. It's like an hour. This is just ridiculous. I would not expect anyone to stick around for this. But there's Decayed Network. If you happen to bump into me, I know I'm not as big as Carcass. There I am wearing a Cannibal Corpse shirt. Oh, there's a picture. It might be hard to see, but. And there's my dear friend Jarrell. I'm wearing a Cannibal Corpse shirt there. There I am meeting Eli Roth. I think you might be able to see where me and my brother's meeting Dan at the show where they opened for Hatebreed. Reggie Bannister, me and my friends as a kid. Very important pictures, special pictures to me. In the comic, you will spot me. There's a couple cameos I do. It's hard to see from here, but it's like where I'm wearing a Carcass shirt and an Eureka Putrefaction hat. Hey Carcass, can I have your autograph? Yeah. If you meet me, I know I'm not as big as Carcass, but I will autograph your copy of Decayed Network. I won't give you a free copy. You got to get that off Amazon or ask Barnes and Noble if they'll carry it in your local bookstore or something like that. This is the movie we just released, Bloody Puke Death on Owen Island. And I give props to Cannibal Corpse and Carcass in that. It's I'm even wearing, don't tell anybody, but you might recognize that band on my shirt. But my daughter stars in this, and it is awesome. And if we bump it, I know we're not as big as Carcass. I know we're not those awesome rock star type dudes. But I'll tell you, if I ever meet you and you want to shake my hand or get a selfie, and I'm not in the middle of something that, it's like I will take time out. I'm not famous. I'd probably be excited to meet somebody who actually knew my work. But I'll take time out for you, and I do care about you. If you like my work, that means a lot to me. And if you're going through a hard time, know that I care about you, and I'll tell you, you're definitely worth something, and God loves you too. No, I'll never forget that. If you go to a Carcass show, don't stand out in the rain and wait for an autograph. If you really want, go inside, pay that nice girl $40 for one of these nifty shirts. And that's it. That's it. I'm really thankful for those who have given me the time. I'm still thankful for Carcass's music, if not how they treat their fans.